The story that I'm about to share is about my home. This is, I am so scared that I don't want to share the story in my house. I have to sit in my car to share this story, what is actually going on. Well, it doesn't happen anymore, but it happened the last time you know what? I don't even know, because I just freaking had something happen to me last week. But anyways, into the story. This is about my actual home that I live in right now. Prior to a year after we already been living in the home, when we moved in, we never felt or seen anything that we can't explain actually happened. Till a year after we were already living in the home, we started renovating the house, and we started breaking down the walls, like putting new flooring. We started renovating, into a new home. And the first thing that I want to say that happened was the gentleman, the handyman, I want to call him, the gentleman that came into the house. He did the walkthrough, and then he stepped out into the backyard and looked directly at the house, and he told my husband, he's like,
you know what? I feel something here.
He shared with my husband, and my husband's like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah. He's like, I feel like the house is staring at me. And my husband, we already been living in the home for a year at that time. And my husband's like, my husband's like, well, nothing's ever happened that, that we can say. And the guy was like, okay, but I didn't see his reaction, but it's something that my husband shared with me. So the handyman, he started working in the home by himself, because he worked during the day while we were at work. My kids were at school, so the house was completely empty. And then he shared with us that, he started breaking down the walls, started doing what he was supposed to be doing. And he shared with us that he had the broom leaning against the wall, and it tipped over. It freaking fell basically onto the floor. And there's no way to explain how the broom could have tipped over, because there was no wind, and there's only one window in the room, and there was no way that the wind or anything can tip over this heavy broom. So he shared that story with us, and I was just like, okay, how do you explain that? I just let it go. And then we hired a plumber, and the plumbers were in the home as well, in the same room, I want to say, working. And there was two gentlemen plumbers working in the house, and they were, one was leaning on the ground, because they were doing the work on the wall, I guess. And one of them said that as he was facing the wall working, he saw somebody walk behind him, but in the room, out the other room, and he thought it was his co-worker, and he just let it go. And then I guess he needed a tool. I wasn't there. He needed something, and he called out for the other guy's name. He called out his name, and the other guy replied, but he was he was in the restroom at that time, and he replied. So he was like, how could you be he didn't understand, how could he just seen the shadow walk behind him, or someone walk behind him, but when he called out for his co-worker's name, he was in the other room, per se. It was 3 rooms over. So how did he get from walking behind him to the other room so fast? And the handyman and the plumbers, they never shared with each other what they seen or what they felt. They just shared them to me, to me and my husband. So they just told us hey, this happened, it was weird. And me and my husband were like, what do you mean? And they shared the stories with us, but they never shared the stories within themselves. They just came in, did their job, and I don't know what else. I never told them hey, the handyman told me this, and I never told the handyman hey, the plumber told me this. I never shared what was going on with them. They're the ones that came out and told us. And that was really weird. That and once myself, prior to doing the construction, I seen a black shadow walk across my living room. I was we were leaving the home, and I told everybody, come on, get out, get out, get out. You know, when you're holding the door and you're counting everybody to get out of the house so we could leave. And I knew everybody was out of the house. And I happened to just because I was gonna lock the door, I just happened to look inside, and I seen a black shadow just walk across my house, my living room, my dining room, into the kitchen. So my reaction was, what the hell was that? And I followed it, but there was no way that I knew it wasn't anyone, but I wanted to follow the shadow. Why? I don't know. I have to see it to believe it. I'm those people that I have to explain what I see, and I want to know what it was. And I followed it, and it went into my kitchen. What I saw was, I didn't see it go through a door, because then I had a door from my dining room to my kitchen. It was literally a door, and it was closed. That time it was closed. So whatever I saw, it couldn't have been anyone, because the door was still closed. I didn't hear the door open or close, but it just disappeared. And I was like, no, maybe I imagined this shadow. Maybe I was just like, no, it was just maybe I was in a hurry. I tried to make excuses what I saw, that telling myself, no, you didn't see what you saw. And then nobody saw it but me. That was another thing that happened. And the creepiest thing that ever happened, that's scary, well, not scary, because whatever is there, I just leave it alone. But the other thing that I seen, or my kids seen at the time, they were young, not that young, but they were, I want to say 8-9 years old at that time when this happened. And they shared the story with me in this exact home that I live in. They used to share bunk beds in one room. And you know how the little kids, you would hear them giggle and laugh, and we would get up and be like, go to bed. And one time at night, I don't remember the time, but I told them, if you don't go to bed, grandma's gonna come out and pull your legs, or she's gonna I don't remember what I said. I think I said she's gonna pull the blankets, and that means to go to bed. And the youngest one at that time, he told me, oh, she already did. I was like, oh shit. But he said it so calm, and he's like, oh, she already did. And I was like, oh shit, mejor me quedo callada, because if I keep bringing this stuff up, if I ever bring stuff like this up, and I don't want to see what's gonna happen next. But I just told him, okay, then go to bed. But in my mind, I was like, oh shit, I'm not gonna play with them like that no more, because I don't want them to tell me or share with me anything that they experience. So one other time after that, I said that to them. My children, the same children, told me, Mom, the youngest one told me, Mom, I seen a black shadow standing in my room. And I was like, what was it? What did it look like? And they said, no, it was just black, and it was just standing in the corner of our room. And I was like, so what did you do? I asked my son, I'm like, what did you do? And he's like, I just covered myself with the blanket. I just covered my head over with the blanket. And I told him, I told him, you know what? That was probably your grandma telling you to go to bed, because you guys are up late, and you guys go to school early the next day. And he told me, yeah, you're right. I was like, God, I was like, oh shit, I can't play like that with my kids, because I'm scared what they're gonna say. But another time, during the construction that we were doing in the home, and this was happening back to back with during the construction in my home, we were me and my older 2 children and my husband were sleeping in the outside bedroom that's not attached. It's attached to my home, but it's separate from the house. And we have a restroom in that bedroom. And my husband was the last one to use the restroom that night. It was about, I know it was bedtime because I like to go to bed early. So I want to say it was about like 9 o'clock. And my husband was the last person to come out of that restroom. And my husband is a type of person, like, all the doors have to be closed at night. All the doors, every door has to be closed. So he closed the restroom door. And I remember I was laying on the floor on the mattress, and he just happened to stand out looking out the window, which is facing the street. And he was just standing there looking outside, like, just, I don't know, just looking. And all of a sudden we hear the knob in the restroom like twitch, like if somebody was trying to open it. And I remember I heard it. My husband heard it. My 2 children heard it. And my husband freaked out, and because he was standing on the window, and he just happened to like look at the door. And I mean, nobody saw the knob turn, but we all heard the knob turn, all 4 of us. And my husband was like, "Kimberly, did you hear that? Did you hear that?" And I heard it, but I know he's such a fraidy cat that I was like, nope, I didn't hear it. Because I didn't want to say yes, because I didn't want him to get more scared. But I heard it, and I heard him. My other 2 boys heard him. They're like, "Mom," the next day they're like, "Mom, you didn't hear that?" I'm like, and I told them, like, I heard it, but I didn't want to tell him I heard it because I know how he is. But we all heard the knob turn. Oh my goodness. To this day I can still hear the knob turning, flip, like, yeah, like somebody wanted to open it. The last thing that thing that happened, that I was like, how do you explain this, was my stepfather passed away a year ago. It's gonna be a year. He passed away. And after he passed away, a few days after, I was cleaning my restroom in my home. And because I have a toddler, and I was cleaning the walls, because, you know, the kids touch the walls, and I was just cleaning the restroom, the wall. And I like to clean the knobs. And I was cleaning the knobs, and I closed the door. I was outside of the restroom, and I was cleaning the wall, and all of a sudden I heard a kick. And I was bending over because I was cleaning the bottom of the wall, and I heard a kick. Like somebody actually kicked the bathroom door from inside, and I was like, what the hell? Like if they were mad that I closed the door in the restroom. I was like, what the hell was that? I was like, it took me a minute to think what could have hit the door. But there was no sound, like if something slid down the door from the inside. And I know that I don't have anything in the restroom by the door that could have tipped over and hit the door. There was nothing that I could think of at that, because I was thinking real quick, like, what was that? How do I explain what I just heard? What was it that I just heard? But it sounded like a kick, like someone kicked the door. Not a loud kick, but it was a kick. And I froze, because I was like, how do I explain what I just heard? Or what did I just hear? I'm always the type of person that I always try to think, like, okay, how could this have happened? Like, I want an explanation. I think about it all the time. Like, okay, how did that happen? How could that have happened? I'm those kind of people. Like, I don't just go like, oh yeah, right away, oh yeah, it was a ghost. I don't think that. I just think like, okay, I just stop and think like, what could have made that happen? And then I opened my bathroom door, after, and I looked inside and everything was still in its place. Everything that I left clean, I mean everything that was there was still in its place. So there's nothing that could have, I looked on the floor, there was nothing on the floor from the inside of the restroom, and I was like, what just happened? How do I explain what just happened? And I'm just like, the thing that has happened to me was recently last week. I was in the kitchen, and I don't know why my kitchen, we always feel, I have felt someone like touch me, but like not touch me like this, but like, you know, when you're walking behind someone and you know, there's not enough room and you say, oh, excuse me, but you kind of like put your hand on them and say, oh, excuse me. I have felt that before in my kitchen. My husband has felt that before. I have seen his reaction before. When that happened to him, he was just standing in the middle of the kitchen, and I was sitting at the table, and I seen his reaction, like going
like, oh shit, and I'm
like, what? And he's like, somebody just touched me. And I'm like, how? I'm like, how can someone touch you? Nobody's near you. I'm because I know how he is. So I just go like, no, dude, you're feeling things. I just try to make up excuses because I don't want him to get scared and freak out, because I have felt the same thing too in the kitchen. So I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't want to know what it is. I just leave it alone. I have been told like, oh, you should like go get agua bendita and put it in your house, or go get a priest, bring them to your house. And I'm just like, yeah, no. I'm like, whatever it is in this house, like, I just leave it alone. I don't want to communicate. I'm just like, whatever it is, it's just going by, and it's just saying excuse me. But I have never tried to, or never will try to communicate alone. It's not harming anyone. It's just passing through, and I just leave it as is. I'm not gonna worry too much into it, but I am afraid to share the stories that I just shared with you in my house, because I don't know, I don't want to get it mad. I'm in my car sharing these stories, but those are a couple of things that have happened to us in our home, and and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a good one. Bye.